The prefixes un and d. Unselect, deselect. What's the difference? Unselected can be an adjective, as in unselected. This choice box is unselected. That is the adjective which describes the noun choice box. Then we have deselect. That is a verb. Deselect the choice box. Now, if I changed this and I said unselect the choice box, would this be wrong? No, it would not, because there is no strict rule about this un and d. It's just usually the d is a verb and the un is an adjective, but not always. So don't think of it as a strict rule. Unbunk, debunk. Let's debunk this false story. In this case, bunk is a noun. It means something which is a lie. When you debunk, you are getting rid of the lie. It is a verb. Does that mean that unbunk is an adjective? Let's test it. The story of the cootie germs has been debunked. In this case, debunk is the adjective. If we say unbunked, I totally understand. But it shows that you are not a native speaker. If you say debunked, then we really know you are a native speaker because you know that the rule does not apply for this word. Next example, unrest, derest. Derest is not a word. It isn't used in English. Unrest means a bad situation where there is political trouble, and unrest is a noun. Rest is a verb, so we are making a noun out of a verb. Can rest be a noun? Yes, it can, as in the sentence, have a rest. That in that case, rest is a noun, but it is also a verb, as in rest here. Could you say unrest here? No, unrest is always a noun. This could be telegraphic language. What is telegraphic language? There is unrest here. That's the full sentence, but we're abbreviating the sentence by making it short. When you do that, it's called telegraphic language. So unrest here really means there is unrest here. It is not a verb, it is a noun in this case. He is unrested, which means that he is tired. And in that case, unrested is an adjective. We do not say he is derested. That actually does not make sense because nobody ever uses this word, and it would be very confusing. So it would be better to say he is tired. But unrested is a common word. However, the definition is completely different from unrest, as in there is political unrest. If I said he is unrested, it does not mean that he is a political rebel or that he is unhappy with the government. It just means that he is tired from staying up too late. So the definition changes when you make it an adjective. Next example. Decide. Well, what is decide? Is D even a prefix? Is it a prefix? Let's look. What if we take it away and we say side? Maybe in the past, maybe a long time ago, side meant you could not decide what side you are on. Oh, am I on this side or am I on that side? So, hey, decide what team you're on. Decide. Next example. Look at this desire and unsire. Well, what is sire? Sire can be a noun. Sire, it's a title for addressing people. It's like talking to a king or a noble person. Sire, I have a message. And so what does it mean to desire? Does desire mean to stop being a king? No, because sire has another meaning. Sire is also a verb, as in, sire children for me, my queen. This means to have children, and the queen is being asked by the king, to have children. And desire, does desire mean not to want to have children? No, not at all. In fact, desire means to want to have children even more with the queen. And unsire, what does that mean? Does this mean to have an abortion? No, in fact, there is no such word. That is why I say these rules about de and un are not strict. If you have a word like decide, it is not spelled like this. It is really spelled like this. Eventually, the combination of the prefix and the word which the prefix modifies becomes its own word. Next example, design and unsign. Unsign could be a verb, as in the sentence, let's unsign the player from the team. Let's unsign this sports player. Let's cancel his contract. We would not say design, because design has a different meaning. Design means to imagine and plan a construction. So in this case, design has a completely different meaning than unsign. Unsign can also be an adjective. He cannot play. He is unsigned. He is unsigned with the NBA, the NFL. Next example. Under. In this case, don't get confused. Un is not a prefix, and der is not a word, so this means nothing. This is just a preposition. Un is not the prefix. Undress, de-dress. You often hear undress. Undress can be used as an adjective, as she is undressed, or she undresses. That's a verb. Undress is a verb. Undressed, an adjective. De-dress, never used. It doesn't mean anything. People just don't say it. If you said it, it would be confusing. So don't. Unbed and debed. It's a rare verb. I will unbed and go to work. I will debed and go to work. Either way, they can work as verbs, but unbed is more common. Unbedded as an adjective, very rare. In fact, in general, it's very rare to use the prefixes with bed. Next example. Bellest, unbellest, debellest. This is a really old word. Bellest means the weight on a ship. If we are to unballast the ship, we may throw weight off of the ship. This could be done in a storm. Unballast this ship, there is a bad storm. The lighter the ship is, the safer it will be. Could we use deballast? Perhaps. Could we use it as an adjective, as the ship is unballasted? Perhaps. We could also say deballasted as an adjective. Now, what if we said the ship is unbalanced? Let's change this from ballast to balance. Maybe the word balance comes from ballast. I don't know. The ship is unbalanced. Yes, this works. The ship is debalanced. Yes, this also works. However, it's more common to say unbalanced. If you said debalanced, I would totally understand you, but you would not look like a native speaker. What if I said the ship is imbalanced? No, the definition changes. We could say imbalanced. Yes, I would understand you, because in the context of a ship, this makes sense. But more often, imbalanced would be used to mean crazy. Usually it means crazy. Now, I could say the crazy man has an unbalanced mind. This is completely understandable. Could I also say the man is unbalanced? No, this does not mean he's crazy necessarily. This could just mean he has trouble walking. If I said he's imbalanced, that means he's crazy. So you have to be careful about those prefixes. Next example. Unbeautify, debeautify. They can be verbs and adjectives. She is unbeautified from her terrible experience. She is unbeautified from her alcoholism. She is debeautified. No, not very common. Neither is unbeautified. If you said debeautified, I would understand you, but unbeautified is slightly more common. She will unbeautify as her alcoholism progresses. In this case, it's a verb. Debeautify also works. Next example. Detune and untune. This is like the first example I heard of the rule. I am detuning my guitar right now. When the guitar is finished, it will be untuned. Unsay. This is common. I wish I could unsay the things I said before. I am sorry I said them. Desay, very rare. But if you used desay, I would understand you. Using it the same as unsay. Unsensitize, desensitize. Sensitize is an interesting word. We'll explain the definition. Sensitize means to have senses, to acquire senses. So how do you acquire senses? You acquire senses by thinking and meditating upon your life and existence. When you desensitize, you lower your senses. Desensitize is the opposite of sensitize. And unsensitize could be used as an adjective, but there are no strict rules. When you get desensitized, you do things that are crude, like listening to very loud music. When you drink alcohol, it desensitizes you. It lowers your intelligence and your feelings. Wrap means to put either paper or plastic or foil around an object. Unwrap, it's a verb and an adjective. Dewrap also works, but unwrap is more common. Dewrap, it's not really used by native speakers. Construct, obviously the verb to make something, to build something. Unconstruct. Unconstruct would be if some workmen were to take the beams and bricks out of a building. Deconstruct means it's more for rhetoric, such as, I am going to deconstruct your story. I am going to debunk your BS by deconstructing your story. Or I am going to build my own BS by deconstructing your story and then constructing my own story about how I think your story really was. Destroy. Destroy means to get rid of something, to annihilate, and to make something exist no more. Does this come from a verb, troy? Does troy mean to build something, or stroy? Does that mean to build something? No. Destroy is an entire word, and D is no longer a prefix. Though a long time ago, it may have been, but now it is not. Unstroy, of course, does not exist. The reason why I use this example of destroy and unstroy is to check and test the rule. If I put a D, if I put an un, what happens? Anyway, that does not apply because I checked and tested those rules and they did not work. When you fly, you will hear the word deplane. the flight attendant will tell you it is time to deplane. They always say deplane, they do not say unplane, because they are using the rule that D is for verbs. When people use languages, they make up rules, and in this current time, D generally applies for a verb, and un generally applies for an adjective, but this was not always the case. As people live through generations, rules of language change. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up. Bye.